Lisa Martinez stepped off the shuttle and looked at the big campus in front of her. The buildings were clean and white, with glass windows that sparkled in the morning sun. Students walked around with books and bags, talking and laughing. Everything looked so peaceful and normal. She put her heavy bag on her shoulder and started walking toward the main building. 5 years ago, she had been a young officer in the Space Navy. Now she was a commander who had fought in the biggest war humans had ever seen. The war against the Zephyrians was over, but Lisa still felt like she was fighting. The campus seemed too quiet. Lisa found herself looking up at the tall buildings, checking for places where enemies might hide. She noticed which paths would be good for running away if something bad happened. Her hand moved toward her hip, where she used to keep her weapon, but there was nothing there now. Dr. Alan Burke was waiting for her at the student center. He was a short man with gray hair and a big smile. He had been a soldier too, but that was long ago. Now he helped other veterans come to school. "Commander Martinez," he said, walking up to her with his hand out. "We are so happy to have you. Here, everyone knows what you did at Kepler Station. You saved thousands of lives." Lisa shook his hand, but did not smile. She did not like when people talked about the war like it was something good. "I just did my job," she said. Dr. Burke nodded. "I understand. It takes time to get used to being back. Come on, let me show you around." They walked through the campus together. Dr. Burke pointed out the library, the student center, and the science buildings. He talked about classes and teachers and activities. Lisa listened, but she was also watching everything around them. She counted the exits in each building they entered. She noticed which students might be trouble and which ones looked weak. "You will be taking xenobiology and interstellar politics," Dr. Burke said as they walked. "The teachers know about your background. They are excited to have someone with real experience in their classes." Lisa did not say anything. She had learned more about aliens in 5 years of war than most teachers would learn in their whole lives. She had seen how they fought, how they died, and how they thought, but she could not talk about most of what she knew. Some things were still classified. Other things were too dark to share. They stopped at a small building called Morrison Hall. "This is where you will live," Dr. Burke said. "You have a roommate named Katie Sullivan. She is a good student, very friendly. I think you will like her." Lisa looked at the building. It was 3 stories tall with windows everywhere. Anyone could see inside. Anyone could get in. It did not look safe. "Are there guards?" she asked. Dr. Burke looked confused. "Guards? No. We have campus security, but they just help with small problems." Why? Lisa realized she had made a mistake. Normal people did not worry about guards. Normal people did not think about attacks all the time. "Never mind," she said. Her room was on the 2nd floor. It was small but clean, with 2 beds, 2 desks, and a big window. One side of the room was already full of books, pictures, and colorful things. The other side was empty, waiting for her. Katie Sullivan was there when they arrived. She was a young woman with brown hair and bright eyes. She looked like she had never seen anything bad in her whole life. "Hi," Katie said, jumping up from her desk. "You must be Lisa. I am so excited to meet you. I have heard so much about what you did in the war. You are like a real hero." Lisa put her bag down and looked around the room. The window was too big. Anyone could see in from outside. There was only one door, which meant only one way out if something happened. "It is nice to meet you," Lisa said, but she did not sound happy. Katie kept talking. "I am studying to be a doctor. I want to help people who get hurt." "What are you studying?" "Dr. Burke said you were in the Space Navy." That must have been so exciting. Exciting was not the word Lisa would use. Terrifying, maybe. Horrible, definitely. But not exciting. I am studying xenobiology, she said. Oh, that is so cool. You get to learn about aliens. I bet you know so much already from being in the war. Lisa did not answer. She started unpacking her few things. Everything she owned fit in one bag. She had 2 uniforms that did not fit anymore, some books, and a picture of her old crew. Most of them were dead now. That night, Lisa lay in her new bed and stared at the ceiling. Katie was asleep in the other bed, breathing softly. Outside, the campus was quiet, except for the sound of students talking and laughing as they walked by. Lisa closed her eyes and tried to sleep, but every sound made her jump. A door closing sounded like a plasma blast. Footsteps in the hall sounded like enemy soldiers. When someone laughed loudly, Lisa rolled out of bed and crouched on the floor, ready to fight. Katie woke up. Lisa, are you okay? Lisa stood up slowly, feeling foolish. I am fine. Just had a bad dream. But she had not been dreaming. She had been remembering. Remembering the night the Zephyrians attacked her ship. Remembering the sound of her friends dying. Remembering the smell of burning metal and blood. Do you want to talk about it? Katie asked. Lisa got back into bed. No, go back to sleep. Katie was quiet for a while. Then she said, my brother was in the war too. He came back different. He said it was hard to feel normal again. Lisa did not answer, but she listened. Maybe Katie understood more than she looked. Like she did. The next morning, Lisa got up early and went for a run around the campus. Running felt good. It was something she could control. As she ran, she planned her day. She would go to her first class, sit in the back, and keep her mouth shut. She would try to be normal, but as she ran past the other students, she knew it would not be easy. They looked at her with curious eyes. Some of them whispered to each other. Everyone seemed to know who she was. Lisa Martinez, the war hero. Lisa Martinez, the woman who had saved humanity. If only they knew what she had really done to win that war. If only they knew what winning had cost her. She finished her run and went back to her room. Katie was getting ready for class, putting books in her bag and fixing her hair. Good morning, Katie said. Ready for your first day? Lisa nodded, but she was not ready. She did not know if she would ever be ready. The war might be over, but her fight was just beginning. 3 weeks passed since Lisa started school. She went to her classes every day and sat in the back corner where she could see all the doors. She took notes and did her homework, but she never raised her hand to answer questions. When teachers asked her about the war, she gave short answers and looked away. Her xenobiology class was the hardest. Professor Graham Chen was a thin man with kind eyes who loved to talk about alien life forms. He did not know that Lisa had seen most of these aliens up close, usually while they were trying to kill her. Today we will study Zephyrian biology, Professor Chen said on a Tuesday morning. These beings were our enemies in the recent war, but now we must understand them as a species. Lisa felt her hands get cold. She gripped her pen tighter and stared at her notebook. Around her, other students leaned forward with interest. They had never seen a Zephyrian except in pictures. Professor Chun pulled out a large glass container from under his desk. Inside was a piece of Zephyrian tissue, purple-black and wet-looking. The smell hit Lisa right away. It was sweet and sharp, like rotting fruit mixed with metal. This tissue sample shows us how their skin can change color, Professor Chun said. Notice the way it seems to move, even though the creature is dead. Lisa's vision started to blur. The classroom became darker. She could hear the sound of plasma fire and screaming. She could smell burning ships and blood. The tissue in the jar looked like the wound she had made in the Zephyrian commander when she stabbed him with her knife. Miss Martinez, are you all right? Professor Chun asked. Lisa tried to answer, but no words came out. The smell was getting stronger. She could see the Zephyrian's face again, the way his eyes had looked when he died. She could feel his blood on her hands. The next thing she knew, she was on the floor. Students were standing around her, staring down with worried faces. Katie was there too, holding her hand and saying her name over and over. "Give her space," Professor Chon said. "Someone call the nurse." Lisa sat up slowly. Her head hurt and her hands were shaking. Everyone was looking at her like she was broken. She hated that look. "I am fine," she said, getting to her feet. Just felt sick for a minute, but she was not fine. She grabbed her books and left the classroom quickly. Behind her, she could hear students whispering. By the end of the day, everyone on campus would know that the famous war hero had collapsed in class. That night, Katie tried to talk to her about what happened. "Lisa, maybe you should see someone. The school has counselors who help students." "I do not need help," Lisa said. "I just need to be left alone." But being alone was getting harder. Students whispered when she walked by. Some of them stared at her like she was dangerous. Others acted scared, like she might attack them at any moment. A few tried to get close to her, asking questions about the war and wanting to hear stories about fighting aliens. Lisa ate her meals by herself and studied in her room instead of going to the library. She felt like a ghost walking through a world where she did not belong. Then she met Marcus Thompson. It was a Friday evening, and Lisa was sitting in the campus coffee shop. She had a book open, but she was not reading. She was watching the door and counting how many people were in the room. Old habits were hard to break. Marcus sat down at the table next to hers. He was a tall young man with dark hair and quiet eyes. He had a philosophy book with him, and he ordered just coffee, no food. "You are Lisa Martinez," he said. It was not a question. Lisa looked at him carefully. "Yes. What do you want?" "Nothing," he said. "I just wanted to say thank you." Lisa frowned. "For what?" "My brother Jack was on the transport ship Aurora, the one that was attacked near Saturn. You saved that ship." Lisa remembered the Aurora. It had been carrying families away from the war zone when Zephyrian fighters found it. Lisa's ship had been close enough to help, but she had to choose between saving the transport and chasing the enemy ships that were escaping. "I just did my job," she said. Marcus nodded. Jack said the same thing when he came home. He said you did not act like a hero. You acted like someone who was just trying to save people. Lisa did not know what to say. Most people wanted to hear about the exciting parts of war. They wanted stories about big battles and brave soldiers. They did not want to hear about the hard choices and the people who died. "How is your brother now?" she asked. Marcus's face got sad. "He died 6 months ago. Not from the war, cancer. But he lived long enough to see his daughter born because you saved his ship." They sat in silence for a while. Lisa felt something she had not felt in a long time. Not guilt or fear or anger, but something softer, something like peace. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said. Lisa nodded. Double quotes. "Do you think what you did in the war was right?" It was a hard question. Lisa had been asking herself the same thing every day since the war ended. "I do not know," she said. "I did what I had to do. People lived because of my choices. People died because of my choices too." "That sounds like a heavy thing to carry," Marcus said. "It is." Marcus opened his philosophy book. "I am reading about ethics in wartime, about how good people can do bad things for good reasons. It is complicated." Lisa looked at the book. She had never thought about the war in terms of philosophy. To her, it had just been survival. Kill or be killed. Save as many people as possible. "Maybe it is supposed to be complicated," she said. They talked for an hour about war and peace, about right and wrong, about what it meant to be human. Marcus did not ask her to tell war stories. He did not treat her like a celebrity or a weapon. He talked to her like she was just a person trying to figure things out. When Lisa went back to her room that night, she felt different. Katie was studying at her desk, but she looked up when Lisa came in. "You look better," Katie said. "Did something good happen?" Lisa sat on her bed. "I met someone who understands." "That is great. What is his name?" "Marcus. He lost his brother in the war." Katie's face got serious. "I am sorry to hear that, but I am glad you found someone to talk to." Lisa lay down and looked at the ceiling. For the first time since she had arrived on campus, she felt like maybe she could belong here. Maybe she could find a way to be both the person she had been in the war and the person she wanted to be now. But she also knew it would not be easy. The war had changed her in ways that could not be undone. She would always be someone who had killed to protect others. She would always carry the weight of those choices. The question was whether she could learn to carry that weight without letting it crush her. Lisa started meeting Marcus at the coffee shop every Friday evening. They would sit at the same table and talk about books, about life, about the things that kept them awake at night. Marcus never pushed her to talk about the war, but sometimes she would tell him small pieces of what happened. "I had to make a choice once," Lisa said one evening. "There were 2 ships in trouble. I could only save one of them." Marcus listened without saying anything. "I saved the one with more people on it, but the other ship had my friend Jake on it. He died because I chose numbers over friendship." "That must be hard to live with," Marcus said. "It is, but if I had chosen differently, more families would have lost someone. I tell myself that Jake would have understood. He always said we had to think about the bigger picture." Marcus nodded. "My philosophy teacher says that good people can make bad choices for good reasons. Maybe that is what happened to you." Lisa had never thought about it that way. She had always seen her choices as either right or wrong. But maybe Marcus was right. Maybe some choices were just hard. With no perfect answer, Dr. Burke had been trying to get Lisa to join a support group for veterans. She had said no many times, but after talking with Marcus, she started to think maybe it would help. The group met every Wednesday evening in a small room in the student center. There were 8 other veterans there, all trying to learn how to be normal again. Dr. Rachel Stone ran the group. She was a woman in her 50s who had been a Navy doctor during the war. The first meeting was hard. Lisa sat in the back and did not say anything. She listened to the others talk about nightmares, about feeling angry all the time, about not knowing how to be around people who had never seen war. Tom Rivera had been a Marine. He talked about how he could not sleep because every sound reminded him of enemy attacks. "I know I am safe here," he said, "but my body does not believe it." Sarah Kim had worked in intelligence. She said she did not trust anyone anymore, not even her own family. "I spent 3 years learning to spot lies and find enemies everywhere. Now I cannot turn it off." Lisa understood all of these feelings. She had them too. "What about you, Lisa?" Dr. Stone asked. "Would you like to share anything?" Lisa shook her head. "Not today." Dr. Stone nodded. "That is okay. You can listen for as long as you need to." After the meeting, Tom came up to Lisa. "I know who you are," he said. "You saved my unit at Titan Base. We would all be dead if you had not sent those reinforcements." Lisa felt uncomfortable. "I was just following orders." "No, you were not. I read the reports later. You went against orders to save us. Your commander was angry about it." Lisa remembered that day. Her commander had wanted her to retreat and let Titan Base fall. He said it was not worth the risk. But Lisa knew there were 200 Marines on that base, including families who had nowhere else to go. "Sometimes orders are wrong," she said. Tom smiled. That is what makes you different from the aliens. They always follow orders, even stupid ones. Humans think for themselves. Lisa had never considered that before. The Zephyrians were good soldiers, but they never questioned their leaders. When their plans failed, they could not adapt fast enough. Humans were messier, but they were also more flexible. After a few weeks in the group, Lisa started to feel more comfortable. She began to share small things about her experiences. She talked about the guilt she felt over the people she could not save. She talked about the anger that came when people called her a hero for doing terrible things. "I killed so many of them," she said one evening. "Everyone says I should be proud of that, but I am not. They were living beings with families and dreams. I ended all of that." Dr. Stone leaned forward. "Do you think you had a choice?" "No. If I had not killed them, they would have killed innocent people. But that does not make it easier." "The fact that it is not easy is what makes you human," Dr. Stone said. "The Zephyrians killed without feeling bad about it. You carry the weight of what you did. That is not weakness. That is conscience." Lisa started to understand something important. Her guilt and sadness were not signs that she was broken. They were signs that she was still human, even after everything she had been through. She also started to see how her war experience could help other people. When new students in her xenobiology class struggled to understand alien behavior, Lisa would quietly help them. She could explain why certain species acted the way they did, what their weaknesses were, how to predict their responses. Professor Chun noticed and asked Lisa to help with a special project. "I am writing a paper about Zephyrian social structure," he said. "Your insights could be very valuable." Lisa was nervous about this. She did not want people to think she was showing off or trying to be the center of attention. But she also realized she had knowledge that could help prevent future wars. "I will help," she said, "but I want to do it quietly." Professor Chun agreed. They worked together after class, and Lisa shared what she had learned about how Zephyrian leaders made decisions, how their society was organized, what motivated them to fight. "This is incredible," Professor Chun said after their third meeting. "You understand them better than scholars who have studied them for years." "I had to understand them to beat them," Lisa said. "Know your enemy was the first rule we learned." But as she worked on the project, Lisa realized something else. She had not just learned about the Zephyrians as enemies. She had learned about them as people. They had fears and hopes just like humans did. They fought because they thought humans were dangerous. They were wrong, but they were not evil. This understanding made Lisa feel even more sad about the war, but it also made her feel something new. She felt like maybe her experiences could help humans and aliens understand each other better in the future. Marcus noticed the change in her. "You seem different lately," he said during one of their coffee meetings. "I think I am starting to figure out what I want to do with my life," Lisa said. "What is that?" "I want to make sure there are no more wars like the one we just had. I want to help humans and aliens understand each other before they start fighting." Marcus smiled. "That sounds like something a real hero would do." Lisa looked at him. "I am not a hero. I am just someone who made hard choices and wants to make better ones." "Maybe that is what heroes really are," Marcus said. By the end of her first year at university, Lisa had changed in ways she never expected. She still woke up sometimes from bad dreams, but now she knew how to calm herself down. She still checked exits when she entered rooms, but she did not feel afraid all the time anymore. Her grades were excellent. She had changed her major to interspecies diplomacy, combining her xenobiology classes with courses in politics, psychology, and peace studies. Her teachers were amazed by her understanding of alien cultures and her ideas about preventing conflicts. Katie had become a real friend. They studied together, went to movies, and talked about everything from school to boys to their dreams for the future. Katie was planning to work in a hospital helping sick children. Lisa was planning to work with governments to help different species understand each other. "You have come so far," Katie said one evening as they sat in their room. "When you first got here, you barely talked to anyone. Now you are helping other students and working with professors." "I am proud of you," Lisa smiled. "I am proud of me too. But I could not have done it without friends like you and Marcus." Marcus had become more than a friend. They had been dating for 3 months now, and Lisa felt comfortable with him in a way she had never felt with anyone else. He knew about her nightmares and her guilt, but he also saw the good person she was trying to become. The biggest change came when Dr. Burke asked Lisa to help with new veterans coming to campus. A group of 20 former soldiers would be starting school in the fall semester, and they needed someone who understood what they were going through. "I think you would be perfect for this," Dr. Burke said. "You have been where they are now. You know how hard it is to adjust." Lisa was nervous about taking on this responsibility, but Dr. Stone encouraged her. "You have learned so much about yourself and about healing," she said. "Now you can help others learn the same things." The new veterans arrived in August. Lisa met them at the Student Center, just like Dr. Burke had met her a year ago. But this time, she was the one offering help instead of needing it. There was Mike Chun, a former pilot who could not stop looking at the sky for enemy ships. There was Amy Rodriguez, a medic who had nightmares about all the soldiers she could not save. There was David Park, a communications officer who did not trust technology anymore because the aliens had used it against them. Lisa looked at their faces and saw herself from a year ago. They looked lost and scared and angry. They looked like they did not belong in this peaceful place with its happy students and clean buildings. "I know this feels wrong," Lisa told them during their first group meeting. "You feel like you do not fit here. You feel like these other students do not understand what you have been through. You are right. They do not understand. But that does not mean you cannot make a life here." She told them about her first weeks on campus, about her breakdown in xenobiology class, about the nightmares and the anger and the feeling that she would never be normal again. "The good news is that you do not have to be normal," she said. "You just have to be yourself. The war changed you, but it did not break you. You are still the same person who chose to fight for something bigger than yourself. Now you just have to figure out how to use that strength in a different way." Over the next few months, Lisa worked with each of the new veterans individually. She helped Mike find ways to channel his alertness into studying aviation safety. She helped Amy use her medical knowledge to tutor pre-med students. She helped David overcome his fear of technology by teaching him how computers could be used to help people instead of hurt them. The work was hard but rewarding. Lisa discovered that helping others heal was helping her heal too. Every time she saw one of her veterans smile or make a friend or succeed in class, she felt a little more whole herself. Her relationship with Marcus continued to grow stronger. He proposed to her in the spring, in the same coffee shop where they had first talked about philosophy and war. Lisa said yes, knowing that she had found someone who loved all parts of her, even the damaged parts. The biggest moment came at the end of her second year, when she was chosen to give a speech at the university's graduation ceremony. She would be speaking to hundreds of students, teachers, and families about what it meant to find your place in the world after trauma. Lisa was terrified. She had commanded ships in battle, but standing in front of all those people and talking about her feelings seemed much scarier. "What if I say the wrong thing?" she asked Marcus the night before the ceremony. "You will not," he said. "You will say what you always say, the truth." The next morning, Lisa stood at the podium looking out at the crowd. She saw Katie in the audience, smiling and giving her a thumbs up. She saw Dr. Stone and Dr. Burke, who had helped her so much. She saw the veterans she had been working with, all of them proud of how far they had come. She saw her parents, who had flown in from Earth to watch their daughter speak. Her mother had tears in her eyes. Her father, who had been a soldier himself many years ago, nodded at her with respect. Lisa took a deep breath and began to speak. 2 years ago, I came too. This university is a broken person, she said. I had just finished fighting in a war that changed me in ways I did not understand. I felt like I did not belong anywhere, like I would never be normal again. She paused and looked around the audience. I was right. I never became normal, but I learned something better. I learned that normal is not the goal. The goal is to become the best version of yourself, even if that version is different from what you expected. She talked about the importance of asking for help, of finding people who understand you, of using your experiences to help others. She talked about how trauma can make you stronger if you let it, and how the worst things that happen to you can sometimes lead to the best things you do. We are not defined by the bad things that happen to us, Lisa said. We are defined by how we respond to those things. We can choose to let them make us bitter and afraid, or we can choose to let them make us wise and compassionate. She ended her speech by talking about the future. I used to think my job was to fight enemies and protect people through violence. Now I know my real job is to prevent the fights from starting in the first place. I want to help humans and aliens understand each other so well that war becomes impossible. The audience gave her a standing ovation. As Lisa looked out at all those faces, she realized she had found her place in the world, not as a war hero or a broken veteran, but as a person who had been through darkness and chosen to bring light to others. After the ceremony, she walked across campus with Marcus, Katie, and her parents. The buildings looked the same as they had 2 years ago, but everything felt different. This was no longer a strange place where she did not belong. This was home.